Hey everybody, Jake here, and today we're going to take a look at the Levenger LTEC 3.0 fountain pen. This pen is a spiritual successor to the Rotring 600 fountain pen, which has been discontinued for a little while now, but it had a very similar sort of look to it. I believe it was a bit more narrow, but that could just be me. Those pens are running for several $100s at the moment, and these you can pick up from anywhere between like $50 to $100. So if you're interested in the shape and design and everything, I'd recommend going with this one, unless you just fall in love with the Rotring. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Some quick specs here. There aren't many available for this pen. The length is going to be 5.4 inches or 138 millimeters, and weight is going to be 2 ounces or 56.7 grams. So it's a very, very heavy pen, even in comparison to things like Karas Kustoms. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and jump into some size comparisons here. We'll go ahead and bring out the Karas Kustoms Fountain K and the TWSBI 580, all in pink, and Lamy Safari, and the Jinhao X750. And we'll go ahead and do a couple of uncapped comparisons as well. So one good thing about the Levenger is that it won't roll away, so I might actually be able to do these sideways this time. So here it is next to the TWSBI, which also sort of has a roll stop. So straighten these out a little bit. You can see they're roughly the same length, with the Levenger being just a tad bit longer. And the Lamy Safari is just a hair longer than that, actually. Just a little bit. Not any noticeable or significant amount. But this is a it's not a huge pen by any means. It's not like a Pelican M1000 or anything, but it's a fairly chunky pen. Also, this one has a medium stainless steel nib. I don't believe they offer gold nibs on this line, or at all, to my knowledge, in their Levenger pens. They have a few different ones. A couple more things here. I believe this is brass. It's all brass, lacquered over, and the other parts, I believe, are stainless steel. So let's go ahead and jump into the like list. Okay, so first thing I actually like here is going to be the nib. This nib writes very, very well for a steel nib. Puts down a very good line, and it's kind of an Art Deco looking thing, very simplistic though. The flow is really good with it. It's just a super reliable writer. Next thing actually is the section. So let's see if I can get a good focus shot here. You can see there's knurling there, which is just like a small diamond pattern in metal. And it really helps you get a really good grip on the pen. It's so even though the section is metal, it's not slick like on the Visconti Rembrandt. You can see in my rant about that. The section's a little slick. It's not too bad on there, but it's a lot slicker than this. This is probably the grippiest section I have by far. Your hand's not going to come off this at all. Next thing's going to be the size, and that includes, capped. It's not huge, but it's fairly decent sized pen. Put it in your hand, because of the way it's shaped, it's actually 7-sided. See if I can get you a shot of that here. Probably not. You can see there's 1, 2, 3 sides there, and 1, 2, 3, 4 sides there. So 7-sided pen. Now, what this means is that when you're holding it, or at least how I have it oriented, because I'm slightly OCD about this stuff, I have the nib lined up with the flat side, which means one of the pointed ends lays in between my index finger and my thumb. So it nestles in there pretty good. Very thick body towards the end, so that's nice, and it's a decent length. So the size is very good for me. The shape I also like very much, which I just talked about. Next thing is going to be actually the threads and how it closes. It has 7 different starting points, so no matter where you thread the cap, it's always going to line up perfectly, which is great. And also, because there's so many starting points, it literally takes 3/4 of a turn to uncap it, which is much better than some pens. It's 1.5 to 2 turns if they really get there. So 3/4 of a turn's very good, and I'm always sure that I'm going to close it. And the threads are just so smooth on this; it's astounding. I actually twist this just fidgeting around. So that's nice. The threads on the body to section are nice and smooth, not nearly as smooth as the cap to the body, but it's still there. And the posting feels very nice as well. And you can make it line up if you'd like to. Or you can, be the worst individual on earth and disalign it exactly on purpose. But what kind of monster would do that? Next up is going to be the aesthetics of the pen. It looks fantastic. I love the deep carry clip look, and it's also very nice for carrying it in your pocket. But it's just nice. And you probably won't be able to see very well in the lighting here, which I'll adjust in just a moment. But this is actually a deep blue pen, but it's a deep blue lacquer with purple flakes in it. I'll go and turn the flash on here so you can kind of see that. Sorry about the shakiness there, but you can see what I'm talking about. You can also see fingerprints all over this thing. But it's very shimmery, but you have to catch it in just the right light for it to do that. So normally it just looks like a navy blue fountain pen, a very dark navy blue. But the sparkles definitely adds something there. Next up is actually going to be the durability of this while I'm talking about the aesthetics. Very pretty pen, but I haven't had a single scratch on this pen, and I've had this pen for probably 5 or 6 months now. So that's just nice. Even though the finish is matte, and you kind of expect some matte finishes to scratch up a little bit more, on the metal ends anyway, they don't. And even on this semi-glossy kind of body lacquer they have going on here, no scratches. It does show fingerprints like crazy, but that's about it. So that's really nice. Really durable pen. It's super heavy. It feels like you could throw it at a car, and the car would probably get hurt more. But I wouldn't do that with this, just because you probably get in trouble if it's not your car. Next up is going to be the converter. This comes with the smoothest converter I've ever used. Normally with a converter you feel kind of a stick slip kind of thing going up. With this, it's butter. It's ridiculous. Love that converter, so that's a nice little touch. And yes, a converter is included, obviously. Next up, and the last thing on the like list, is actually going to be the case and add-ons that come with this. So here's the case it comes in. It's just kind of a metal clamshell case. The only branding on it, the front is Levenger. Looks kind of like a metallic pencil case almost. It opens up, and you can see you have your warranty, filling information and stuff there, and there's like a velveteen line cover, and the pen just nestles right down in here. Fits perfectly. And they have a little groove for your fingers so you can get it out. And this is kind of a foam with a velveteen backing. And also, you can unscrew this top part here. Remove that, and put one of these on. And these are just stylus tips. This is kind of a rubber one. Feels kind of like a nipple. Looks kind of like a nipple. And this is actually a kind of a mesh metal tip, which is interesting. Let's see if I can show you guys that. Kind of. But it's a little different. And all you have to do is screw this on there, and then you have the heaviest stylus in the world. I haven't used these because I don't use stylus very much, but I imagine it wouldn't be too comfortable because of how heavy this thing is. But it's nice that they include that all with the purchase of the pen. This is one of the few pen cases I keep, and I actually, when I'm not using this pen and it's not inked up, I do keep it in here just on my desk. So that's a nice little touch from them. Okay, on to some neutral stuff. Of course, this is coming. The weight, very, very heavy pen. I don't notice it if I put it in my pocket or anything, but when you're holding it, you definitely do. Any kind of long form writing will kind of become a weightlifting exercise. So I wouldn't write an essay or a novel or anything with this. This is a lot more kind of note-taking pen, and the quickness of the cap unscrewing helps with that a lot. Next thing is actually going to be the step up when you do unscrew it. Now, this is a long section. Just for comparison, I don't know. Here's a Gen How. A lot of people have these. So you can see the section's quite a bit longer on the Levenger, and those threads are buttery smooth, so even if your fingers do run over them, they're not going to be sharp. But because of the length of the section, I can hold it very comfortably without going up on the body. But if you hold it back any, that's a pretty big step up. It's not sharp, very rounded actually, so it's not like the Pilot Metropolitans that I had such an issue with, but it's definitely there. Last thing's going to be the price. These retail for about $100, which isn't a bad deal, but when you get up to $100, you have a lot of serious competition. So, because for that price, you can get a used Lamy 2000, maybe a used Vanishing Point, and this is, it's a nice pen in its own regard, but those, or at least the Vanishing Point's a much, much better pen. But you can get this new for that much. You can pick it up sometimes on Mass Drop for like $60 or whatever. Amazon has them a little bit cheaper. I actually got this one from Amazon Warehouse Deals for $28, which I was astounded by. So I jumped on this pretty quick because I've been looking at them, and it had no visible damage, so I was very thoroughly impressed and very happy with the price I paid for this. But at $100, I just think you need to weigh your options a little bit before you go jumping into this pen. But if you can pick it up for $50 or whatever, go ahead and grab it. It's a pretty good pen. On to the dislike. There's only a couple things here. First up is the clip. I love that it's deep carry. That's nice. If you are into EDC stuff, you know that can make a world of difference. What I don't like is the flimsiness of the clip. So, just a thumbnail, you can see that bending, and it's a very, very thin clip. So that really doesn't help at all. So the flexibility of it, it kind of makes you wonder if it's going to break. It does snap back every time, and I've never had it bend or warp. But you can also take and push down just on the middle here, and it will actually bend the clip downward. So you can do this with one thumb. But it's just kind of worrisome. I kind of wish they made the clip a little bit thicker, just a tiny bit. It would have made it protrude a little bit more, but I think it would have added to the durability of it. That's just my opinion, though. Last thing, I mentioned I like the posting, and I like the way it posts, but I have two problems with that. One, it backweights the holy hell out of this pen, and two, it's a very shallow post. It only posts by that much, so you can imagine. So when this pen's posted, it becomes very, very long, very, very cumbersome. And just for comparison, I'll show you one of the other really long posted pens. That's the Lamy Safari. And it's actually a little bit longer than the Safari when it's posted, except that the Safari is made out of very lightweight, I believe, ABS plastic. This is not made out of plastic. This is made out of brass and is very, very heavy. So that's just something to keep in mind. So all in all, pretty good pen. A couple things I dislike, but a great value. Even if you do get it at $100, it's still going to work well for you. Last up, we'll go ahead and do some writing samples here. So I'll just use a scratch paper here. So as I mentioned, this is a medium nib, and it puts down a very, very good line. The flow isn't too wet, but it's not dry at all. It works very well. And this ink, for anyone wondering, is Pilot Iroshizuku Asagao, which is marketed as a kind of purple, but it's a lot more of like a blue to me. So I was a little disappointed. Picked that up on my Japan trip. Actually, it's much cheaper. There was like 1,300 yen, which is about $12 or so here. But But they did have a recent price drop in that ink as well, even over here in America, so that helped out a little bit, but it's still very expensive. But very smooth writing nib, as most mediums are. But very good performance from a steel nib. I didn't have any scratchiness or writing issues out of the box, so that's always good. And as far as line variation goes, pretty solid for a steel nib, I'm not gonna lie. And it feels very, very flexible. As far as steel nibs go, don't push it or spring it or anything. But you know, if you do have to replace it, it's a standard number 5 size, I believe, so it's not too bad. All right, thanks for tuning in, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and keep an eye out for my next video. All right, thanks. Bye.